Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue au Pendu dans le Cercle de Lune. Hello friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you surely know from my attempt at a French introduction that this is my series in which I use Tarot de Marseille adjacent, and antique Italian decks to help me explore a topic that I pull from my larger weekly spread, in which I explore how we can live our lives more intentionally. So for this lunar cycle, I've been using a different spread. I've been using a spread that was based on the Ace of Wands from a beautiful deck called the Tarot of the Holy Light by the wonderfully brilliant Christine Payne-Towler. And in case you have not seen this week's spread, I'll put a link up here. So you can hop on over and take a look at that. The title for this week's spread was When Working at Cross Purposes. Let me say that again. When Working at Cross Purposes. And so I give you that card up there to hop on over because this spread might not make as much sense without the background context of the larger spread from which I'm pulling the more concise message. So what I did is I laid that spread, and now I'm asking the question, what is the central message of this week's Ace of Wands spread? Because it's a large spread. It's not quite as large as my Tree of Life spread, because that Tree of Life spread had so much. I'm not going to say that it had more depth than this spread that I'm using, but there's a tradition that asks to be unpacked when reading from the Tree of Life. This Ace of Wands is a little, I don't want to say simpler, but we can get through it quicker. Okay? So, but still, it's large enough that having a concise message is helpful. And just in case you did see that larger reading, and it's been a while, so you'd like a quick refresher, like the title, When Working at Cross Purposes, we started off with an idea of times, or a time or a series of times when we're not able to move forward with the things we are hoping, desiring, wanting to create in our lives. It was the Two of Wands reversed. And there were possibilities encapsulated in that one card of being at cross purposes with other people, with circumstances in life. There might be things which are preventing us from moving forward, but it could also be an internal problem of times when we have two or more things that we are interested in pursuing, and because we're not focusing on any one of them, none of them are moving forward. Or perhaps we have internal conflict of positive and negative beliefs about a certain thing that we want to do or be or have in the world. And those conflicting beliefs are preventing us from our evolution. And then we looked at some potential traps that could arise from that kind of a situation of becoming a domineering SOB to a domineering and or manipulative SOB to one who is just railing against circumstances, feeling trapped. And then the recommendation of doing some internal work, right? Moving into the water of life, you might say, the Pisces, Scorpio, air qualities of our lives. And then we read through the whole spread with a little bit of extra advice, and here we are looking for a central message, right? So what is the central message of this week's Ace of Wands spread? I have pulled the cards. So what am I going to do? I'll show you that question once more in typewritten form, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then I'll show you the cards that came out of the deck, and we'll talk about the cards, we'll talk about the spread, and then we'll be done. So friends, here we go. This is, I believe, an amazing deck. It's not brilliantly, stunningly, colorfully recreated, but there's a history, there's a depth, there's an intelligence, there's a power. There's a power. Did you notice the amount of black in this deck? There's a powerful substantive quality to that color and a rootedness to, I believe, this deck. And unfortunately, there aren't that many copies out there. This was a 20-deck run for this printing by this creator. There has been a printing of the deck by another creator. It was also a limited run. I think it was the British Museum gave permission for a very limited quantity of reproductions of this deck. So I am blessed to have this deck. It is a combined deck, actually, as we would say, a collaborative deck, but not by intention by the creators. Yeah, this is a deck that people thought was by one creator. It was thought to be by Guilaume Dubesset, and then they discovered in the early 2000s that it was not only by Guilaume Dubesset. This is a deck that was missing cards, perhaps were replaced by cards from another deck by Claude Valentin. And so I did a walkthrough of this deck. I'll put another card up here for you in case you wanted to see this full deck. It's a gorgeous deck, and I wish I could give you a link for you to purchase it, but it's all gone. I will put a link down there for you to peruse images from the deck, I think from the British Museum, but that's what I can do for you. Now I can give you a link to it for you to look at the images. I'll give you a link to my my personal walkthrough of the deck. There we go. But this is a gorgeous deck. This is the second time I've used this deck on the channel, not because I want to drive you crazy with something you can't get, but because I really have fallen in love with this deck for the reasons I mentioned. Yeah, the rootedness, the groundedness, the weight and the power of the images. And there's a little whimsy in here as well, but that black is just so strong to me. Delicious, as we say. And you saw that very strongly in the Justice card and in the Ace of Wands. So, the cards that came out, you'll notice that there are a bunch of cards this time, again. This deck, actually the first draw I got from this deck was only a 3-card spread. It was pretty short and to the point. Last week's spread from a different deck, which was a reproduction of the 1930s deck by, what's the name of the company? It starts with a G. It's not Givenchy. It's by, it's not Gassman. It's by, I'll put a name down here. The name's not coming to me. Anyways, that was a huge old spread. This is kind of big. Not as big as last week's. The cards that I originally pulled were, can you guess? Were the Justice card, and then the Page of Wands, and then the Eight of Swords. No. Nope, I lied. No, that is not true. The cards I originally pulled were the Knight of Wands, the Justice card, and the Page of Wands. And I thought this was a perfectly, beautifully balanced spread. I could stop there. But my curiosity got the better of me. And because that Page of Wands, so we had these 2 court cards balanced on the pivot of the card of balance, right? So I really could have stopped there. But like I said, my curiosity got the best of me, and I wanted to know what that page was looking at. So I pulled a card for that, which was the Eight of Swords. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. And then I looked at the Knight, and I thought, okay, now, so I pulled an extra card on one side of Justice. So I've got 2 on one side, and I've got 1 Knight on the other. And that Knight is looking in the direction of the Justice card, but the horse is facing another direction. The horse is body is moving in another direction, looking back, right? I thought, okay, for artistic balance, maybe I should pull another card to see where the knight is headed when he turns his head back around to face forward and with the horse. And so then I pulled another card, and it was the Ace of Wands. And I thought, yes, okay, this is a clear period, full stop to this spread. So that's what we're going to read. In case you didn't want to hear all that, I hope you skipped ahead over my explanation of why I pulled so many cards. But that's the direction we're going to read. We're going to start with Justice in the center. Because, like I said, I think this is the fulcrum of the balance, right? And then on one side, we've got the Page of Wands looking at and giving attention to the Eight of Swords. And on this other side, we've got the Knight of Wands moving in the direction of the Ace of Wands. Or perhaps even carrying that Ace of Wands forward into the future. And making us consider that maybe we have a choice here. Maybe we have something to choose between. Or there are aspects in our lives that we want to balance. So let's start with the Justice card. Let me pull that out. So this is the beautiful, beautiful Justice card with all of that black on her dress. Now the lower skirting is black, mostly black. The mid skirting is also right underneath the bodice. It's also black. We've got one sleeve that's very black. Lovely card. Powerful card. And this is Justice, which is 8. Number 8, right? Tarot de Marseille. Also Thoth, number 8. Which, knowing that we're moving, the page is also looking at a number 8 card that's significant, right? We've got 8s. We got the idea of perfection and harmony here. Balance. Maturity. It's 2 4s. It's hyperstability. But I don't think it's that stability of the 4, which is like almost immovable, can be almost stagnant. This is a stability of motion, of the lemniscate. It could also indicate cosmic laws, the laws to authorize or forbid somebody or something from doing. But it's also actions taken in clarity. It's rationality. It's the clear mind of the major arcana. Yeah? This is the piercing mind of the rational. That's why you could say that she's holding that sword, as well as reasoning by rules and norms. And again, balancing with clarity. Yeah? Makes sense for the central pivot point of a spread. So on one side, what do we have? Let's look at the Page of Wands, because this is the fresh, vibrant energy of the youthful one, right? The youthful one is looking away from the Justice card, but I don't think because the page has turned his, her, or their back on Justice, but because we're looking at the direction that this side of the scale is headed towards. So, what does the Page of Wands like? The Page of Wands likes exploration and excitement and freedom. Yeah? That's the youthful, robust, sacral chakra kind of power and vitality of the Page of Wands. And yet, this is an immature person in the court suit, right? The court suit, in the court cards. Court cards, let's call them cards. So there's a hesitation. There's an insecurity here as well. Hesitation between doing and not doing as possible. Creating and not creating. Having sex and not having sex could be possible as well. So the page's energy wants to be channeled. Because right now it's a little bit all over the place. It's a little bit wavering, right? Because it's an immature energy. There's a call for refinement, to get that energy focused, to fuse into something that can be channeled and pointed in a direction. And that power is spiritual, and it's emotional, and it's full of the potential for growth and possibility. right? So we've got this youthful thing that wants direction, that wants focus and refinement, but is spiritually and emotionally powerful and growing. And this being is pointing his, her, or their attention towards the Ace of Swords, right? I'm sorry, the Eight of Swords, the Eight of Swords. The thing that looks like a lemniscate, the number 8 like justice. So again, I don't think the page is turning away from justice, but is giving attention to an aspect perhaps of justice. Which is, again, this page has their attention, his attention, her attention, on finding clarity, expanding their intelligence and their intuition. Beautiful 8 card, right? You see the flower there in the center? That flower in the center, focus, clarity. And maybe you might think it's a little constrained, but there's like a bull's eye, right? Can you see a kind of bullseye there, that focus? And yet the mind is not identifying with the concepts it has. It doesn't think that, oh, I'm the smart one because I thought of this. It's happy and finds the energy of the thought without identifying with the thought or the concept. And there's powerful concentration here. There could be a call for managing anger. This is something else that was that I picked up from another book that I've been looking at from France. There's a call to manage anger in this card. There are solutions to problems which become obvious beyond reasoning in non-thought. The solutions appear in the open and the like meditative mind. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah? Solutions can appear and reveal themselves within the space of a meditative mind. Present, non-thought, gives us the space for the solution to arise better, much more effectively than focusing on this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Right? Which is part of the message of this week's larger spread. So we've got this youthful energy, these youthful attributes of vitality, but insecurity, insecurity, hesitation, wanting focus, wanting a refinement, giving attention to finding clarity, and opening to solutions with non-thought. But that asks for a certain kind of presence on the part of this, where are you? Where are you, fella? Of the lady, non-binary being, on the part of this youthful being. You know? So that's on one side of the justice card. On the other side of the justice card, we've got this, I think, really cool looking knight. The drawing is not that clear, and it's probably, this is from the Guilaume Dubesset deck. I think the cards that are the crispest and the clearest are probably from the Claude Valentin deck, but I think this is probably from Guilaume Dubesset. I just think so, I'm not sure. And we see the knight and the knight's horse looking back at justice but moving in another direction. And this is the desire for action and adventure and fearlessness, riding off on my horse to have a new adventure. There's sexual and creative energy here in this knight as well. Being one with one's energy as well here, yeah? It's that our sexual, creative, sacral chakra energy is not a thing or a being that's separate from us. We are one with this, especially in this card. Yeah? Our instincts are channeled. Our instincts are channeled in a direction of our desires, our creativity, our courage, Our abilities are also focused in the direction of our desires here. And we have the ability to heal, which is a thing that I don't usually land on, but that's possible. We are potential healers here. And favorable transformations are also possible. We can transform ourselves and the world. And how can we do that? What is that thing how can we do that? I think the answer to how we can do that is the Ace of Wands card, which is interesting in many ways. One, the knight is holding this in his hand, her hand, their hands. Another, the Ace of Wands was a key card in this week's larger spread, which is based on the Ace of Wands. Yeah? So, having the knight, we see the hand holding the wand here, right next to the knight holding the wand. So what is this knight holding and carrying forward into the future? Which, yeah, it's looking off to, moving into the left, and you might say, well, that's the past. But in this spread, it's not the past. It's the direction this knight is moving, and so it is, therefore, the future. Ace of Wands, creation, of course. New areas of creativity. Creative inspiration. So this knight has their creative inspiration there in their hands. New desires, new movement. The potential of vital energy is here too. Fruitful decisions and fortune smiles on this being. Yeah? This being rides off onto adventures because most of the adventures this being rides off to are successful, and they have the benefit of good luck, good synchronicity, good fortune, of favorable gods. They have the means to create and to reproduce, to do that thing over again, which is wonderful. So this is what the knight has in his, her, or their hands. And the page is looking at this as well. And so let me put this in the other way. Let me try holding these cards in the order that we are reading them. Now, let me see, just a moment. If you want to skip over a couple seconds, that might be possible too. So, here we go. I hadn't thought I would want to do this in advance, but I decided I wanted it. So here we are. Yeah? So we have the knight holding this new creation, these new areas of ideas. On one side, we have the page, the insecure one, looking towards discovering ideas and solutions by opening to them. Not identifying with them, but finding clarity and expanded intelligence. And I think we want to balance both aspects of this in order for us to be able to move forward with the powerful current of intention. Because our lives, our intentional lives, are creative lives. We co-create the lives we are living here in this physical universe, right? Can you agree with that? And perhaps in those times especially, when we feel like we're at cross purposes, when we're either at cross purposes internally or with other people or with circumstances in our lives, finding a way to balance these two aspects, to reason our way through our passion, to reason our way through with our passions, with our spirituality, and with our creativity, and perhaps our sexuality, could be the best way forward. Does that make sense? I think it does. I think having these two beings, the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands, together in good balance within us will be a way for us to move through our intentional lives, to move around times when we feel like there are not barriers so much, but we're at cross purposes. I keep going to that same word. When we're at cross purposes, without falling into potential traps of either railing at having become the victim, or of becoming the great manipulator. This is how we can find our true path. Again, I believe. Do you believe? Let me know in the comments below. If you don't believe, do you think this spread would be read better differently? Would you have stopped with just these 3 cards? Yeah? And if so, how would you have read the spread with just these 3 cards? Justice in the middle, with the Page of Wands on one side and the Knight of Wands on the other. How would you read that? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And friends, if you are still here, thank you very much. Hit the thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you and other people will also like this video. And it helps the channel. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm going to try and do a 3rd video at the end of this week. A walkthrough, I believe, of a Minchiate deck. I've done a Minchiate deck fairly recently, in the last couple of months, but I got a new one in, and I want to do a walkthrough of that. And so I'll try and get that uploaded. I'll try and record it this week and upload it perhaps maybe the beginning of next week. Maybe Sunday, your time, maybe Monday, Tuesday. We'll see. So if you don't have the bell, hit it now so you can get the notification of when it is uploaded. English can come out of my mouth. And yes, comment below. Really, I would love to hear from you. If you want a reading from me, my email address is below. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, we'll get you a reading. I love doing that for you. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.